sweet surrender, and I've never known mercy so tender. It's healing my heart, it's healing my soul forever. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. Lord, I stand in your presence, broken before you, and my heart's desire is to love and adore you with all of my heart, with all of my soul forever. Lord, I fall at your altar in sweet surrender, and I've never known mercy so tender. It's healing my heart, it's healing my soul forever. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. Lord, I stand in your presence, broken before you, and my heart's desire is to love and adore you with all of my heart, with all of my soul forever. Lord, I fall at your altar in sweet surrender, and I've never known mercy so tender. It's healing my heart, it's healing my soul forever. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. Lord, I stand in your presence, broken before you, and my heart's desire is to love and adore you with all of my heart, with all of my soul forever. Lord, I fall at your altar in sweet surrender, and I've never known mercy so tender. It's healing my heart, it's healing my soul forever. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. Lord, I stand in your presence, broken before you, and my heart's desire is to love and adore you with all of my heart, with all of my soul forever. Lord, I fall at your altar in sweet surrender, and I've never known mercy so tender. It's healing my heart, it's healing my soul forever. I bow down at your feet, I bow down at your feet, bow down and worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. I bow down at your worship you, Jesus, my Savior, my King. Lord, I stand in your presence.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about, I said we're going to do 1 week, but we're going to have to do 2 weeks on this topic. There is so much on wealth and generosity in the book of Proverbs. And so there's just no way I was going to try to cram it. And so we'll do that, finish that up next week, Lord willing, on this as we talk a little more about generosity. So what comes to your mind when you think about wealth? Just that general idea. What? Money, okay. Think about money. Money, money, money. That you don't have? Yeah. Dolores? The love of money. Yeah, we talked about that Sunday in class. It kind of came up in 1 Timothy 6, of course. What else you think about? You think about wealth and this, what comes to mind? Anything? Opportunity? Yeah, I like that. What we do with that opportunity, right, is going to be the key. What else? Anything come to mind? Yeah, Dolores? Remember everything we have comes from God. Yep, like that, absolutely. That's taught. Yeah, go ahead, Rhonda. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Keith? Temptation, yeah. That's what Kathy was saying, the love, or Dolores, Dolores, the love of money. Yeah, it comes with, money comes with temptation to love it and to seek it. Yeah, Dolores, again. Well, yeah, you brought nothing in, you can take nothing out. Kathy?
Well, today my sister-in-law, who has some memory issues, was talking about her dad.
Uh-huh.
And she said if her dad had $20 and somebody came and wanted money, he would give him 10. And if somebody else showed up and wanted money, he would give him 5. He would give him half of whatever he had.
Oh.
And, it just, they weren't well off.
Yeah.
He was very generous,
Very generous.
with what he had.
Yeah, that's going to be key, especially next week. Yeah, Roy?
I know it's been sort of mentioned, love, money,
Uh-huh.
temptation, but sometimes people have so much money, they buy everything they want, and they put those things first over God.
Mm-hmm.
God's on down the list. So it's how people like it.
Yes.
Away from God.
Yes, absolutely.
Away from God.
Absolutely. And we know it includes more than, again, money, like we think about possessions. I mean, there's a lot of things associated with wealth. And so we're going to we're just going to kind of skim that surface of that tonight. I want you to think about, as we think about this, 2 things. God cares about how we get our wealth, and then next week we'll be looking at He cares what we do with it. Notice what I left off. He does not care how much we have. Doesn't care. Rich, poor, middle, doesn't. What He cares is how we obtain it and what we do with it. That's what matters. And again, as Kat said, whether you've got $1 million or $100, He cares how we get it and how we use it. And you can be sinful and displease God with the $1 million, and you can be sinful and displeasing to God with what? The $100. That's right. And so that's what I think we need to see here from this. And it has an impact. That's another thing I was thinking about. I was thinking about what you think about when I think about wealth. I think about the impact that it has and can have on other people. Again, good or bad, right? Think about the impact wealth can have on people. I mean, just the power of that, the opportunities. Jeff talked about the opportunities. And yet also, as Keith talked about, I think, the temptation that comes with, not using it in a way that honors God and blesses other people. And again, the proverb writer talks about all this, that we glorify God, we honor God in our wealth. All right, so let's read some scriptures tonight. We're going to be looking at several. Proverbs 16:11. So, okay, Bill, and then somebody get ready on Proverbs 22, 22, and 23. Okay, Ron, we'll start with these two. Okay, Bill, Proverbs 16:11.
Honest scales and balances belong to the Lord. All the weights in the bag are of his making.
All right, what does that have to do with honesty? What's going on here with scales talk? What? How'd they do that in ancient times? I mean, we still see that in places around the world, but what would they would take the scale, what those, like a teeter-totter, right? And what would they put on one side? A weight, measurement, and then they would put whatever the spice or the whatever you were going to put on the other side, right? That you were going to, and that's how you would determine the value, well, people have been trying to cheat for forever, and they would do what with those weights? They would.
I have read that the Jews sometimes had two sets of weights, and one the good set they would use for Jewish people, but if it was a Gentile, they had no problem with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
Those days you had to watch butcher's thumb.
The butcher's thumb, get on the weight. Yeah, yeah, you've seen that. Yeah, yeah. It has a lot to do. Inaccurate measures. Be fair. Don't misrepresent, right, what you're doing when it comes to money and finances in that regard. If you're billing somebody, bill them for what you did. Yeah, Jeff? Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Oh my. Yeah. No, that's yeah. God wants everything balanced in honest ways, and when it comes to the exchange of money and goods, He sees that, and He knows when you've cheated someone, and of course, where people become real great at justifying and rationalizing, and that I've noticed that especially comes when the economy is bad and the interest rates are high and pay, and people can start justifying, well, they're charging outrageous, or the bank or the stores or people can start trying to justify all they want, can't they? And you can do that, try to do that all you want. It still doesn't take away the fact, right, that stealing and cheating and being dishonest when it comes to material goods and exchange of money and goods, it's just, and we don't want to venture too off on stealing, but it's definitely connected. That's what you are doing in this regard, and so, but again, billing for hours that we didn't do, right? I mean, how common is that? Some of you have seen it. I don't know, maybe some of you participated in it at one point. Whoa, not me, right? A bunch of people are doing it. And it's just very common, and that seems to be, people can justify it, and it doesn't matter what it is, that people can excuse it, and here the scales. God sees that. Okay, Proverbs 22, 22, and 23. Didn't mean to spend as much on that.
Do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court, for the Lord will take up their case, will plunder those who plunder them.
Okay, so a lot of the scriptures we're going to see some of them are going to especially center around this exploiting and taking advantage of people, particularly the poor. That you don't take advantage of poor people, that you don't oppress them, you don't rob them. And yet, how often have you seen that? People who are desperate, whether it's any sort of goods and services or product, they can be taken advantage of. You know, just we've seen that on every level. It doesn't have to be just poor people. It can be people who have money, that can be you know, who don't know something about, you know, some sort of product or service or whatever, but especially the poor. Um, you know, I'll tell you what I think. I think that's what the lottery is. That's exactly what we do as a state, as a nation. We take advantage of the poor. Who's buying the tickets mostly at QT? Those who cannot afford it. Why? Because they're desperate. They're desperate.
There's a lot of that with the casinos.
Yeah, yeah. They are desperate in their situations, and they think, oh, boy, if I could just, man, I don't have the money for this, but boy, if I could win and I, you know, help out. And I mean, and of course, our state just says, yeah, we'll take that money from the poorest in our communities, and we'll give it back. The politicians tell us, right? Yeah, it's a tax on the poor, and yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll go to some other good that somehow doesn't. And so, you know, we see that God is. You know, He takes that. And so if we obtain it in an ungodly manner, it's not good. Okay, Proverbs 10 and who's got 10 and 2? 10 and 2, it sounds. Okay, Betty, and then Keith, you keep your hand up. I'll let you read Proverbs 20 and 17. Okay, Betty, Proverbs 10, 2. Ill-gotten treasures have no what? What's it say? Profit nothing. Yours at what did you say, Betty? No lasting value. Why is that? Again, these are general truths. I'm not saying there's never a person who, you know, lies, cheats, steals. But what do they really get in the end, the long road? When you lie, when you steal, when you cheat, when you're dishonest, when it comes, especially to wealth. Now we're talking about what? Okay, your reputation. Do what? Well, yeah. I mean, that's certainly, you go to jail, and that's going to bring destruction and misery. I knew a gentleman in the church a long time ago that got caught up in some forgery because he was struggling and there was some desperation. And boy, he got mixed up with some real bad people real quick, and it landed him in prison. and so others, yeah, Jeff. No, no. There's really no joy in it. Yeah, there's no pride. There's no achievement or that I look, you know, and yeah, right, Angie. Yeah. 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 I'll tell you what, I was so proud of this young man at QT the other day. So I had to get some money out of the ATM. And so the gentleman in front of us, and he, you know, I was checking my phone or something. I was doing something. You know, what do you do when you're waiting at the ATM? It's kind of, you know, it's right outside the bathrooms. It's just an awkward spot to kind of, so you just, you know, trying to not look or look at someone too much, you know, and they're doing their, it's just so I'm sitting there waiting, and, you know, and he walks away, and I did notice right as he walked away, yeah, because I was putting my phone in my pocket and was going to get out my wallet. His card flops down, and he just continues to walk. Right as I'm about to, there was a 16-year-old boy was kind of over in the other little section of the QT counter where the snacks are. He darts and, sir, and picks it up and hands it to him. Man, I thought, when I was getting some of this cash out, and I ought to give him some money. I was proud of him. You know, I said, I really appreciate you. And, you know, because he could have picked that card up and said, what? Can you buy something in QT? I mean, it could have been a Coke or a Pepsi. I mean, I'm not saying he'd have been crazy, but I just said, man, I really appreciate that. And Then I got in the car and thought, maybe if I didn't have 3 kids, I might have given him one of those bills. But I was getting it out for kids, so no, I was just. But it was proud of that. Yeah, go ahead.
We were at Sam's, and I had paid my Sam's
Yeah.
bill. And I got out of the car, and for some reason I looked at my receipt. Well, I had 2 big things of cat litter,
Uh-huh.
like $40 a piece, and it wasn't on my receipt.
Uh-huh.
And I told Mom, I said, I've got to go back in. They didn't bring us this cat litter. And I went back in, and they were totally amazed that I came back in
Oh.
to pay for my cat litter.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's sad that it amazes people when you do the right
yeah.
thing anymore.
I know it does. Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
I left my credit card cold one time. I didn't know it was gone. They called me next day, told me tonight.
Yeah.
That waitress, they don't make a lot of money.
Right.
She could have gone to town.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know it is. It's very and you just feel awful.
People in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah. Who got Proverbs 20:17 for me? Let me keep on that.
Food gained by fraud tastes sweet to a man, but he ends up with a mouthful of gravel.
That's a good one. Yeah, it might taste good on the front end, but it leaves that lasting, destructive misery when you really start kind of taking it in, when you have dishonest gain, and it really does lead to destruction. And okay, let me get some others here. Proverbs 21:6. Who's got? Let's do some reading. Proverbs 21:6, and then verse 3. I kind of wanted the order, so I know you're looking at that going, why didn't you do 3 verse before 6? Let's do 3. Proverbs 21:6. Roy, and then who's got verse 3? Okay, Marcia.
Hidden treasures by a lying tongue is the fleeting fantasy of those who seek death.
Okay, a lying tongue. You gain in the short, but it leads to that misery. It leads to that downfall. Okay, Marcia. All right, that one's an interesting too, because people will often, if you notice, when they want to try to, get something a little bit by dishonesty or kind of that they didn't work for or earn, they might even justify it and say, well, I want to help my family. I want to do some good. I'll give back. I mean, have you ever heard that from someone? They start trying to, almost like they're going to bring that offering to the Lord. And so that's the idea here is, read that again, Marcia, 21:3. Okay.
Do what is right and fair. The Lord loves that more than sacrifices.
Yeah. Don't think you can steal additional sheep or two and think, well, I'll give one of these to the Lord. That's not what he's after. He's after honesty. He's after truth. And so we can justify and rationalize all we want. Well, I'll do good with this. This is going to help my family. This is going to, I'll give some to the church. No, God is after integrity and honesty and justice. And so Proverbs 21:27. Who's got that for me? Proverbs 21:20. Okay, Dolores. Okay, that's really the one I was looking for there. It's God doesn't want that. He wants us to have the right heart and the right attitude. We don't lie, steal, cheat, and then think, well, I'll give back some to God. That's people. I'm telling you, I've been doing this a while. I'm telling you, people think that way. Well, I'm going to do some good with this. Some of it I didn't get, but I'm going to give back. We just become great at rationalizing, don't we? Humans do. And we got to be reminded about what have we said? God doesn't care how much you have, right? He cares what? How you get it and what you do with it. That's what the proverb writer is telling us. Go ahead.
10:4.
Okay, yeah.
Read 10:4. Lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Matters how you get it. Go ahead.
Some people rationalize they have to do bad to do good.
Yeah, they've got to do Yeah, I think that's right. I think a lot of people do rationalize, and again, my experience when times are even at their worst, toughest, that's when it. Again, the test of a person's character is not when it's going good and easy and interest rates are down and employment and jobs are plenty and and I mean things are going. That's not when you're tested, right? That's not when a company or an owner is tested, right? Is when things are, during the great years. It's when things are tough that are we going to and so we think about that in the in that regard. Yes, I think it's again it matters how we do this. And again, um, what Proverbs 21:27? Who had that? Read. What was that? Someone read that? Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That it matters how we obtain it, and in a godly way. And again, we got to be. This is more than just fudging on timesheets. The biggest theft, in according to all the research in work, is in time. Is it? I mean, isn't that a form of pay? They're getting paid, and they're what? They're not doing. They're working all. They're on their computer all day doing anything but their work. I mean, you can kind of rob from the company by, yeah. So.
There's some people, they cut back on their production so they can get overtime.
Okay.
I've seen it where the company is, well, we're going to have to do overtime. Well, the employees slack back so they can stretch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen them do that.
No, I know. Yeah. And again, we can come up with all sorts of rationalizing it, and from a human standpoint, it may sound legitimate enough, right? But again, with God, no, it matters. And so, and then, I mean, should I even mention taxes? Ugh. Because, well, the government, they wasted all, the government, you ever heard that from people? That's what I call it. Not quite like that, but that's how it sounds. I don't have to claim everything. They take from, they're just going to waste it. I don't have to report everything. I've seen them they'll never know it. I mean, people get real defensive on stuff like that, it's either cheating or it's not cheating, right? I mean, and so, and of course, there's the fear there, because the last people you want looking at your finances is the government. So that fear of an audit, but more than that, yeah, the Lord sees even, Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, yeah, and we're not saying any of us are perfect and sinless. We're not. That's not the point. What I am saying is it's easier to lean in the other way and kind of say, well, everybody kind of does it. Everybody, people, all their employees who do it, even the bosses know. I mean, we can make it all sound okay, right? But what does God see? Yeah, Kevin? Oh, yeah. 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 No, yeah. We all can relate to that, and so there's more than one way to kind of have dishonesty when it comes to material goods and money, and so all right, let's look at some ways here. Guides for acquiring wealth. Wealth should not be gained at the expense of truth. Proverbs 20:17. And there may be a couple of these scriptures we've read, so if you do, see that, we may have already. Proverbs 20:17. Food gained by fraud tastes sweet. There we go. We've already read that one. But one ends up with a mouthful of gravel. And so, how we obtain that matters, and wealth should not be gained at the expense of truth. I ran across this Russian proverb I thought was pretty good a while back. When money speaks, the truth keeps silent. I thought that was pretty good. Hello? Let me read it again. I know it's Wednesday night. When money speaks, the truth keeps silent. You ever seen that in your work, in your job, in when the big money speaks, right? When the boss, when the whoever, the owner, when they say it, well, the truth will be silent. We call that, speaking truth to power. How many people are willing to do that? And we don't gain wealth at the expense of not being truthful. Anyway, I think that's important. Wealth shouldn't be gained at the expense of justice. This one's big in the Proverbs. We've talked about that already, especially with the poor. Proverbs 16:8. Let's look at a couple of these. Someone get Proverbs 16:8. Now that goes against, right, contemporary thinking, modern thinking, any kind of thinking, really. I mean, that you're better. Mine says, better with a little, with righteousness, than much gain with injustice. Again, that is so against the grain. That is so against what is around us in the world. It says, get whatever you need to get, however you need to get it, and don't worry about, all the details of how you did it and what you said. And God says, no, you're better off to have not have it than to lose your righteousness. It's better to have a little bit, but what you have is righteous. Proverbs 13:11. Yeah, that's an interesting principle. The get rich, get quick schemes, right? You ever seen that? The get quick, get rich quick, get money fast, we got this, we got to, and here he says, hey, gather your money little by little and it'll grow, right? Do it the right way over the long haul and you'll be better off than those quick, dishonest, because that is what comes with a lot of those schemes and scams, is you have to kind of fudge on the truth and be dishonest and unethical. I mean, it's like buying something on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I've sold stuff, I've bought stuff before, and you just always are like, just hope someone's telling me the truth. And you got to look it over, and have you had any trouble with it? Or, and you can tell pretty quick on the ones that are, they're not being upfront, they're not being honest. And so Proverbs 29:4. Who had that? Kathy, did you have that? Yeah.
The king establishes the land by justice, but he who receives bribes overthrows it.
All right, so the idea there dealing with kind of government and rulers and bribery was so big in ancient times. And it still is. We use high-powered lawyers and attorneys and non-disclosure. I mean, we still do bribery just as much as they did in ancient times. You just buy off your enemy, buy off your adversary. You just silence them with money, and it still happens every single day in every city in America and the world. And so that form of bribery, he says, is we see that all the time. And so you don't gain wealth at the expense of justice. There's going to be no lasting value for you with that in that regard. Yeah, go ahead, Ron. Yeah,
He's learned
he's learned.
just ride him out.
Yeah, yeah. It's so. And so also gaining wealth at the expense of others. Proverbs 28:24. And who's got that? Proverbs 28:24. Who hadn't got to read yet now? Where are you at out here? Okay, Jeff. Yes. All right, and get verse 28 too. Skip down, Jeff, and get verse 28. Yeah. Yeah. This, again, throughout the scriptures, this gaining wealth at the expense of others. And he uses dramatic illustrations there of your parents in verse 24. It is and it is amazing what uh, the people who are the closest to people, how they will often steal and lie and cheat them just as much as anybody else. I mean, that's so sad when people rob and steal and lie to get wealth and possessions even from their own family. And it's very, very sad that we see that. And so, anything at the expense. Jesus, I was thinking of this example. I mean, the supply and the demand and the poor. I mean, Jesus was, can you see why Jesus was so passionate about the poor, about the wealthy that had, and they had them completely vulnerable. Remember, we think about the very powerful scene when Jesus drives out the money changers, right? I mean, there was several things going on there, but one of those things, besides preventing people from worshiping the Lord, is they were robbing and cheating the poor. They were price gouging them, right? They've come in from all over the Bible, from the Israel. They've come all and they have to buy the sacrifice tools. They have to get the animal, and it's just business is booming, and they're just the price gouging them, right? And Jesus sees that for what it is. It's robbery, right? And he constantly had that heart for the poor and for justice, and it's just so. Let me give you some others here. Let me. We get Proverbs 20. Yeah. Let's go back to 28. I wanted to make a comment on that. Let me go back to that, I think. Oh, that wasn't it. Well, we'll just keep moving. But yeah, I was looking for the passage about, let me see if it was 29. Let me see real quick if that's it. No, that's not it. I was looking for the one about, thought I had that on the slide about interest, the usury. Well, I guess I didn't put it on the screen. Excessive interest rates, the proverb writer talks about. Matter of fact, God, when he gave the law, told Israel to not charge their neighbor, fellow Israelite, interest. He said you could do it to the foreigner, and there's reasons why. But the idea here is excessive. Don't give out loans to exploit the poor and charge them excessive interest. That's the idea there. Don't exploit them. Don't the lender just to become rich. And so do what? It's 28:8. Thank you. I thought I had it. Go ahead, Dolores. Okay, and so there's that idea. And remember, what did we say about Zacchaeus? He was, he was charging. Those tax collectors, chief tax collectors, were overcharging because that's what they got to take. When they met the Roman demand, they got to keep whatever they went over that. And so Zacchaeus has apparently robbed. He's overcharged. And he says, if I have, I'm going to pay it back 4 times. And so it's that idea of exploiting the poor, the vulnerable, and that was very, very common. And so anyway, wealth obtained at the expense of others. And then at the expense of righteousness, Proverbs 10:2.
Patience and wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivers from death.
Okay, really like that one. There he says in Proverbs 10:2, ill-gotten treasure have no lasting value, but righteousness delivers from death. And again, it's not just, yes, physical death, but I think it's just an all-around destructive misery that comes through dishonesty and through cheating and being fraud, and certainly your neighbor. And so he points out that. Okay, Proverbs 11:18. Who's got that? Okay, Dolores. All right, the one who sows that righteousness. It always comes down to the heart. What's in our heart? There's nothing wrong with acquiring wealth, is there? There's nothing wrong with having possessions. There's nothing wrong with being rich. We know that there were people in the Bible who were rich and were devoted to God. And so it all comes down to what's in my heart. Am I pursuing and chasing after righteousness, or am I pursuing and chasing after wealth or riches? Because Jesus himself said, where your treasure is, what? There your heart is. So if you are seeking and pursuing in your heart money, riches and wealth, and not righteousness, that of course is going to be the problem. That love of money is a root of all evil, as we talked about on Sunday morning, 1 Timothy 6, and so this righteousness, and then of course we wealth gained through hard work. Again, Proverbs 6:10 and 11. Who's got that? Proverbs 6:10 and 11. Who hadn't got to read yet? Maybe some of you guys, ladies, who hadn't like to read. Proverbs 6:10, 11. Okay, go ahead, Roy. Yeah, look at that. Sleep, slumber, folding your hands, poverty comes. Roy, why don't you get Proverbs 14:23, if you want to skip over and get Proverbs 14:23.
Okay. In all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty.
Okay. And we labor, we produce with our hands, it leads to prosperity, it leads to wealth. Again, these are general truths. The idleness and leads not to that. Proverbs 24:33 and 34. Who's got that? Proverbs 24. Okay, Ron.
34, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and the scarcity like an armed man. That, 33,
24.
33, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of
Yes.
the
We have.
wrist, and the poverty will come to you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man.
Yeah, we just saw that. Yeah. So you see this wealth gained through, I think about in Ephesians 4 and verse 28 when Paul says that the one who is stolen should steal no more, and let him labor with his own hands. And then he says, we'll talk about that next week, so that he might give to those who have need. And so there the idea of laboring, working with your own hands. Paul told them in 1 Thessalonians, you remember, when some of them were thinking the second coming of Jesus was, they took it, he can come back soon, and they just kind of stopped working and being active. And he says, no, you need to be busy, you need to be working, you need to be productive, and not be idle. And because we know that leads to so much bad things when people aren't doing that. And so you see this throughout the scriptures is wealth gained through hard work, through honesty. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with inheriting it, and we know there's examples in Scripture of that, and wealth being passed down, and that. But the call of Scripture is that we need to be honest, we need to be diligent, we need to be working with our hands so that we can provide, that we can have prosperity, and if the Lord blesses us, even with riches, with wealth, and so. Just so many other, there's so many scriptures here in Proverbs. These are just kind of some that I think, but I want you to think about, we live in a world where people are doing a lot of this, abusing, misusing, deception, obtaining wealth and possessions by dishonest means. And it is so prevalent, it's so common. And yeah, even when times are hard, it can be easy to try to justify some of this, but we got to always think how God sees it. And God cares how we obtain our wealth, our possessions. And He cares what we do with it. And we've seen scripture after scripture that says you'd be better off with little, but you have righteousness. You've got truth. And yeah, Kathy?
Proverbs 8, 10, and 11 says, it's talking about wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all things that one may desire cannot be compared with her.
Yeah. It is the mark of wisdom is what we do and how we obtain our wealth. And so we'll look at that next week, how we use it, and especially in areas of generosity. So appreciate you being here tonight, and we'll see you hopefully, Lord willing, Sunday. See you there.